team, because we work 24 hours a day, you need to have triplicates of every role on board. So we have 3 video engineers, 3 science communication fellows, 3 navigators, 3 Hercules pilots, 3 Argus pilots, 3 data loggers, and very quickly you end up with 31 people in the rest of the group. If you want to learn more about these people, click on the team page, because we're all there.
Megan, I feel like you got everybody but Nav in that list.
I said Nav.
Ouch.
I said Nav.
I feel like
I didn't say communication lead, but
over there.
I said Nav before I said Hercules
Rennie's sitting
pilot.
over here with
my arms crossed on him.
Don't pout, Rennie. You're an important member of the team.
I'm waiting for George to say something.
I said mates.
On the contrary.
No, about your comment about Rennie being an important member of the
Play
team.
charades. Who am I?
Oh, about being a member.
I can tell from the back.
Yeah.
Rennie, do you want to play?
There's and we have a lot of bunks on this ship. We are far and away the outlier on how many people we can bring to sea, and we still, run into the situation where we're bunk limited. But as far as like the UNOL ships, so the academic fleet or the NOAA ships, they don't have anywhere near the berthing capacity that Nautilus does. So we feel really fortunate, and a lot of what we do here on the ship relies on the fact that we can bring so many people out, and we can use the ship as a training platform. Amanda, lots of people are interested in your science knowledge. Are you on Twitter where people could learn more from you about science?
Oh, I knew this day would come. No, I'm not on Twitter right now.
Oh,
I feel like I should probably start that. I always felt like people didn't care to hear my science knowledge and I would just be tweeting to the void, but goodness. Thanks, guys. Maybe I should. But I can refer you to some other really cool Twitter pages. So Rebecca Helm is a great open sea biologist who knows a ton about jellies and sort of gelatinous plankton of all kinds.
Yeah, that's
and
unfortunate.
her Twitter handle is Open Sea Exploration.
I explained some of them.
Open Sea Exploration, all right.
So she'd be a good one. And I guess I'll go get that Twitter page.
I think you'd find an audience. It is a lot of work, but I think you'd find an audience, certainly.
But hey, if you want to get serious about learning this stuff.
Yeah, so I am actually, I'm looking for students. I'm
Are
a new invertebrate zoology professor at Moss Landing Marine Laboratories.
Congratulations.
So for anyone who wants to join it, thank you, by the way. Anyone who likes this kind of cool deep sea ecology or sponge biology, yeah, contact me. And also feel free to email me if you have questions anyway. I'm happy to respond to emails.
Yeah, Amanda and I actually had the same professor at Moss Landing Marine Labs. We weren't there at the same time, but we both came from the invertebrate zoology lab at Moss Landing Marine Labs. And now that she's replacing Dr. Geller, I just find that totally amazing. And boy, what a daunting task. I mean, you're just so knowledgeable, with invertebrates. For me, it's...
Oh, no, he's got some big shoes. I have some big shoes I need to fill.
Oh, no, he's a very, very smart man.
From John, so, yeah.
Video push in.
It'll be great.
Oh.
We'll take all the guests.
You are a crustacean. You are...
Looks a mysid?
I'm pretty sure it's a mysid.
Yeah.
I was waiting for focus.
Whoa, come back. Nope, too close.
Coming. Best guess is mysid. So I've been looking up Poralia, and I'm not finding a lot about why we might find it more often than others, other than there was a study done of distributions of various jellies in Monterey Bay, and they tended to be distributed slightly differently depending on the physical characteristics of the water around them. So, and I love this term. Where was it in here? Poralia was found in waters that were coldest, that were saltier with lower oxygen concentration.
Interesting.
Waters that were deeper with a density anomaly greater than 27.2, which is something we characterize for deep sea, where spiciness and thermohaline properties were fairly similar. So those don't seem to play in as much.
Spiciness?
Spiciness.
Explain that.
Okay, really quick, since we're looking at this, that's
Yes.
a pom-pom anemone again.
Right.
Super
So
beautiful.
awesome.
And to the side of it was an irregular urchin.
Who's wearing a hat.
Yeah.
Found himself a hat.
You had a hat?
Did you say
It's like a shower
irregular?
cap.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it was an irregular urchin, right?
They're
Are you saying the word irregular?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're kind of
Full-eyed.
biscuit shaped instead of round.
Yes, exactly.
Mhm. And it's found a bunch of detritus since wearing it as a
Yeah,
hat.
and you can
like-
see all the
There's
tracks
there's
there.
a number of them in there.
There are.
We can still see you, but we'll pretend we can't.
Yeah.
Yes. Right.
Well, I mean, they are camouflaged.
It's
Yeah.
hard to
Yes.
hide on a big open plain.
You can't see me.
You can see their tracks behind them, and that's pretty cool because you can even see tracks of animals and fossils. Near where I live, there's Point Lobos State Park, and there you can go and you can see trace fossils, little footprints of polychaete worms and sea urchins that walked around hundreds of thousands of years ago on the deep sea floor that then got uplifted to where I can see it.
Yeah,
in
I've taken my kids down there several times and shown them those trace fossils. And in fact, my daughter's class from last year, 8th grade, we went down there and I showed the class all of the trace fossils. And you get the mixed reactions. Some kids that are like, oh my gosh, millions of years ago, animals were walking through the sediment in the deep sea. Some kids are like, yep, I'm going to go over here. That doesn't matter to me.
Okay.
I find it interesting. I love fossils and trace fossils. There's something that my imagination plays with what did this environment look like? What did the animals look like crawling through this mud back in the time?
I believe that's an atolla, type of atolla jelly. I'm not the best with jellies, I'm going to admit.
That's quite all right, Amanda.
It looks like it's asleep.
It's not moving much.
No movement.
There are
yeah.
a lot of jellies that will sit sort of splayed out like that, with their tentacles splayed out, and it's a hunting sort of float and wait strategy.
Okay, Amanda. Fill me in on this spicy adjective.
Spiciness. So what is ocean spice? Well, seawater can be different temperatures or different salinities, and both of those features can affect the density of seawater.
Yes.
So if you have saltier water, then it's denser than fresh water. And if you have colder water, it's denser than warm water. But it's possible to have, so both of those affect the density. So it's possible that you could have, for example, high temperature and low salinity, and another water mass that's low temperature but high salinity, and they can have equal densities.
Right.
So they have different temperature and salinity properties that contribute to them, but the same density. And that is
Okay.
considered their spiciness level.
I see.
Yeah,
I see.
ocean spice. So that's something that physical oceanographers will often look at to recognize water masses. And they do that to know how, to recognize water masses and where they came from. So you can recognize what water originated in the North Atlantic and traveled around from there throughout the deep sea based on its temperature and salinity and density characteristics.
I was
So-
hoping there was
so
a
is
Scoville
there-
scale associated
Yeah, is there a
with that.
spectrum of spicy? So if they're the same density, does that mean they're the same spiciness? Or if something is the same density, is the saltier one or the less salty one more spicy?
Ooh,
or is
you're
it
getting-
not linear?
Well, now I have to look up what the spiciness scale actually goes on, because I don't know
Okay.
greater and less is. I know that it was the density has to be the same.
Okay. Or is it just that if the density is the same, they are equally spicy? Is it a measure of the density?
Man, if
Let's
Trevor was
see.
here, he'd be having a field day about this.
No,
He
because
sure
the
would
density
be. He loves that.
would have different
Spice.
constituents. They would achieve the same density in different ways, right?
Yeah, that's okay. But I'm curious.
You wanna know
which
which
of
water
the
is
which
more
of those
spicy.
elements,
Yeah,
you know, if
yeah,
if A plus
exactly.
B equals C, is spicy a measure of C or
Yes.
A or B?
Right.
For our viewers, if you do want to replay these dives, if you've missed any of it or any of the rest of the dives this season, all of our dives are archived on YouTube. So you can check out at EV Nautilus on
Yes.
YouTube and rewatchable dives.
Oops.
Also, probably a good time to point out that the internship's open again.
It sure is. Tell me more, Erin.
Can you hear me? Am I loud enough?
Yes, I can.
Okay. There's an internship program that the Nautilus runs they're really big into education and hands-on experience. So I think 4 of us in the van did it currently. Is it 4 or 5?
1, 2,
4.
3,
4.
4 plus a fellowship. Yeah.
So 4 of us did it, and 3 of us moved on and continued to come back. The 4th is
We
still
don't know
here.
about the 4th
It's
yet.
his first year.
We'll find out next year.
We'll find out.
TBC.
Stay
TBC.
tuned to find out.
But the application's online at nautiluslive.org, and it's for recent graduates or current students, and I would highly recommend checking it out. It's very hands-on. You can do video, you can do ROV, you can do science, mapping.
Mhm.
It's a really good experience.
These are paid internships, and you're eligible once you're a community college undergraduate or graduate student or a recent graduate. So, and recent graduate is not defined by a number of years. It's defined by you telling our search committee how this would help you advance your career and why you're interested in this. So,
Too close.
I mean, the best advice I always have is just apply if you're interested. You know, I've never cold called someone and asked them to come on Nautilus when they've never expressed any interest. So don't rule yourself out if you're interested in these types of opportunities. They are competitive, but the only way you get into the field and start competing is by putting yourself out there. Anybody else have any internship advice?
Oh,
Coke
we have a
and
soda
Pepsi.
battle right here.
And
Soda
my
battle.
goodness.
Pepsi versus
Diet
Coke.
Coke.
Oh, this is
That
great.
is the 1970s Pepsi design. I looked that up the other day. Come on, y'all. Put your trash where
The
it
red
belongs.
shrimp is trying to
So
Oh,
the
this is
implication is that those went to the bottom together, and whatever held them has gone away.
2 people were arguing
Yeah.
on a boat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is hilarious.
In
I
a
mean, someone
macabre
set that up.
sort
Come
of
on.
way. Right.
We also have a fellowship program available for educators. So the Science Communication Fellowship is a year-long professional development program where you work with other educators from across North America. You come out and sail for 1 to 3 weeks
Okay, we
as
are
a Science
behind the
Communication
ship.
Fellow on Nautilus. We fly you to Rhode Island to come to a science communication training where you get to meet all of the lead scientists and all of the Ocean Exploration Trust staff, including Dr. Ballard. So the Science Communication Fellowship is also open now. Absolutely incredible opportunity if you are a you know,
Yeah,
K to grade teacher, so a formal educator of any kind or an informal educator.
You've been hitting
It
about
includes
0.75.
writers,
Yeah, you were
artists.
missing for a moment. It was
designers.
just like the ping was off screen. It was like,
Greg, we've been going about 0.75, by the way.
okay.
Which should be
Because
fine
once
for
we're
this
over
terrain.
this little bump, it's flatter downhill.
Flatter down,
so.
yep. until we
There's
get to
there's
our
a bunch of light stuff in front of us.
I found stuff.
Neat.
I haven't even been watching ROV Nav. I just
Yeah, it's just, we're back there somewhere.
we are pretty stretched out though.
Yeah.
Okay, Dane. So spicier water is
Yeah.
warmer and saltier.
I see.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Not as
Spicier water
refreshing
is
on your
warmer
tongue.
and
Right,
saltier. I have to
right.
remember that to
Okay.
tell Trevor.
But what's the other term?
Well, I
Less
haven't
spicy.
verified the
You
other
haven't
term in
verified?
any
Okay,
science
so
yet.
we'll await
I've
verification.
only seen
Bland.
it. Yeah.
Bitter.
Bitter.
According to Googling this and a Reddit post, someone says minty is the opposite, but I haven't found that confirmed in any science.
Oh, this seawater tastes minty.
But yes, spiciness is, well, spicier water is the same density as other water, but warmer and saltier.
Awesome.
If my partner's watching, he's a physical oceanographer. Maybe he could write in and teach us a little bit about that.
Help us. So if you're interested in diving back into Nautilus's history, I recommend checking out the expedition map that's on Nautilus's homepage. It is a map with pins dropped, so you can see where we've been all around the world.
Oh,
If you
I
click
think
on
I
any of
know
those
what that
pins.
Have
is.
a
Video push
Dumbo.
in.
Dumbo, Dumbo, Dumbo.
Hello. 2-in-1 watch. This sanctuary is magical.
Wow.
All right.
It's the same one I just took us in a big
It's a
circle.
flapjack, I think, yeah. Flapjack Dumbo.
So
It's
cool.
not true. Those
I love seeing them on the seafloor actually interacting. You know, we usually see them, and we're about to see this one take off.
It might take off.
It's
Ah, look at the color change.
So last night we saw one of these that was orange. Now we're seeing this flapjack octopus taking off.
That's fantastic. Hello. So at the beginning of the watch, if you saw that Cerothama magna that we saw, really different shape, much longer tentacles. So these flapjacks are, I think they just look like little cartoon characters with their shortened tentacles and big round mantles. Absolutely incredible.
They swim by flapping their ears.
This makes me so happy.
Right?
So in the deep sea guide, it looks like this guy is called Opisthotuthis. And the common name that we've got in our guide is the flapjack devilfish. That's in the, the Davidson Seamount Field Guide.
It's great.
Aaron, get it all the way in before we
Flapjack
get the
devilfish?
Devilfish.
Yes.
Let's just let it go out of frame,
It's incredible.
if it goes out of frame.
Goodbye.
Full wide.
Have a great day. I hope you find something yummy to eat to replace the energy of swimming around.
Yeah.
It almost landed on that shrimp. Just jump on it.
Oh, that was lovely.
Good track line
So
by George,
cool.
right? We had made that little dip.
Yeah.
Thanks, George.
Are we coming up on a feature?
Yes.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons I'd been at full
Yeah, we were
kind of
all
tether
looking
extent,
at it.
because we don't know exactly what it's going to be. It shouldn't be super tall, but
It could be sheer, but it might not. It's probably not tall, but it could be a wall rather than a slope. Find out very shortly.
yeah, one way to find out.
So fantastic. Again, this is pure exploration. We are in a new area of the seafloor here, so everything we're seeing, we're
Well, the
seeing and
strike lines
documenting
up
in this
with the
first.
map.
Yep.
Important to the sanctuary to have a good understanding of the variety of habitats and species that are within sanctuary boundaries. So exploring new areas helps broaden the species inventory or broaden the known range
Yeah, this one
just
will
by
have to come up
placing
quick.
these animals
So it hasn't-
along in formation. So
hasn't
we're
crested
searching this
yet on
area.
Argus.
Nope.
Hoping to find some hard bottom substrate, interested in the sponges and the coral communities that we may find here. But we've been seeing this really
There
sculptural
we go. Still
compressed
didn't crest it on Argus, so.
compressed
Nope.
clay and compressed sediment structures that you're starting to
Keep
see
coming
here. A
up.
lot of interesting banding, some areas that are columnar really, and big cliffs. We've been calling them mud cliffs for the last 12 or so hours as we explore along this feature, making our way towards something
Getting
that we
towards the top there
think
on Argus,
may be
but
more hard bottom substrate, but certainly no lack of cool creatures and amazing sights to see as we've been in this area.
I was remiss. I should have looked at our depth when we were at the bottom.
Hello to Mesa Union School writing in. You can see the whole team on the team page, but Scott Simon is on board and will be taking over for the 12 to 4
there we
watch.
go.
So
I'm almost at the top for
if
Argus.
you want to send questions into him, tune in about an hour and a half when he will be here in the control room.
Quite steep
Yeah.
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 and tall.
Yeah. So from the time that I said I should have been paying attention to the depth until the top, it was 10 meters. And so it was probably about a 25 meter.
That's what the contour suggests as well. It seems like anytime we see a change of contours with any kind of slope
We're having
on
those
the map,
kinda-
it'll be a wall in that general region.
Well, and part of it is all since it's so soft, right?
Right.
You get better returns from basalt.
That's super deep.
Make Pickion writing in that is Grimpeteuthis, not Opisthotuthis. So Dumbo
The
octopus,
flying-
not flapjack octopus. Well, I mean, Dumbos are these names that he's saying, sorry, let me just read to you all.
Oh, who wrote that?
Grimpeteuthis species. So, you know, as scientists, we have
Something
these
big.
multi-layers of specificity as we
Where?
come down.
Well, no, just all the
And a lot of these common names
sediment
kind of
cloud.
like cover
That
all of
wasn't
them.
me, it
So
was Margus. It was something else.
Yeah. Fish.
You have to be careful. Sometimes krakens will leave like clues like that, and you're like, oh, I'm going to go and explore that. And then before you know it, kraken attack.
hate when that happens.
Since this is a educational outreach, we have never been attacked by a kraken.
Yeah, you're like asterisk. It's like the end of a medical device commercial. Note, these claims are not.
Yeah.
You have to talk really fast.
Objects in mirror are larger than they appear.
We cannot specifically confirm nor deny that a kraken has ever attacked
Exploring the
Hercules.
ocean can be addicting.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, who is it?
Please, yeah.
There's a group of scientists after, I think Nat Geo or Discovery Channel did the mermaid documentary.
Oh my gosh.
And then said that mermaids do not
Oh.
exist. There was a group that said that, you know, there's no proof that they don't. You can't have proof something doesn't exist.
Right.
You can only have proof that something exists.
Right.
Before we open this internet can of worms, you can definitively say a lot, you know, while we cannot prove, you can look at the available metabolism and the available habitats and say
Right.
a lot of things.
We can use a lot of logic to rule
Yeah.
things out.
Mermaids, not real. Megalodon, real but definitely distinct. Extinct.
They're very distinct too.
Also distinct. Both.
Yeah, and working for NOAA, I'm not kidding. I did have friends come to me and ask
Fish.
me seriously about that
Yeah.
because it was misleading the way the documentary was, the mockumentary
Yeah.
was produced. And, you know, they put the disclaimer at the end and the beginning and all that stuff.
But it was like,
people
Right,
weren't
but if you
reading
tune
that.
in at the
flashed,
middle.
it flashed for
Yeah.
a half second. It was,
Exactly.
yeah.
And some people take that seriously, but conversely, you know, sometimes truth is stranger than fiction. Some of these deep sea animals look more wild than you could dream up. And I remember having a conversation with someone at a t-ball game many, many years ago, and we were talking about, with my daughter, who was very young at the time, about the narwhal.
Oh, here it comes. Another octopus.
Oh, another octopus. And so
Rennie
the
spotted
dad
this
said,
one.
what's a narwhal? I said, it's basically the unicorn of the sea. It's a whale with a
I'm
big
gonna give you that one. though.
horn coming out the head. And he did not believe me for about 2 minutes. And I was encouraging and assuring him
Video
that
push in.
it is real. So I had to bring out my phone and show him the images. And here's a grown man discovering for the first time that narwhals are real, the unicorn of the sea. And sometimes truth is stranger than fiction.
The
Yeah.
strangest thing is it's a
Oh,
tooth
Yeah, right, exactly. It's a
Right.
tooth.
protruding through the
I
lip.
believe I saw
When I
no
found that out, that
third
was-
arm differentiation on that quick view.
Yeah, it's something, you know, I take it really seriously, you know, the opportunity that we have to talk to people about science because
Because science is crazy.
yeah, it is. The natural world is really wild and, you know, there are a lot of fascinating and surprising things, and there's a lot of complexity in a
What's
lot of these
the,
environmental issues and environmental opportunities to storytell, and so we want to make it accessible, and at the same time, I think we really, as scientists, owe public audiences honesty about how complex things are, and things we do know for sure and things we don't know for sure, but to keep the information as accurate as possible.
And it takes
Yep.
spending a lot of time, like with the dive, spending a lot of time down here to see everything that you see in the highlight clips.
Video
Yeah,
Oh,
pushing.
absolutely. You know, if we threw a camera in most places on the seafloor, you would see mud, you know, and that's cool. Mud is, and that's an important part of the story, you know. And so are these really cool highlights, like when we get to take a look at this kind of spectacular animal.
What are you doing?
Yeah, Amanda and I agree that two previous octopus was Grimpetoothus. We were quickly flipping through the guide. It
Full
did look
on.
a little shorter and squatter than a Grimpetoothus at the time, but we agree.
Isn't there a, it's the Greenland shark? It's
Oh,
like,
that is so cool.
Oh, Greenland sharks are amazing.
know, like-
400 years
Incredible.
old.
Very
yeah,
old.
And then they have
older
those
than the United
parasites in their
States,
eyes.
older than, yeah.
And
like
they eat,
crazy
they
amount
can
of
eat
ammonia.
reindeer. Yeah.
One of my friends just got done filming them.
Oh,
She
so cool.
was showing me the footage. I was so jealous.
Sorry, wait, who said Greenland sharks can eat reindeer?
I did.
How is
Megan.
that? Okay.
When they fall through the ice?
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, they come
Yeah,
up
it's
and
not,
eat.
not a
Spring
flying
thaws.
Greenland shark, which would be
Yeah.
awesome. But
wow. Land
They-
shark is
Terrifying.
real.
They eat
Reindeers
things
fly,
that
so
die
could
on
happen.
ice and fall in.
Dang. You
Yes.
just don't think about animals making those kinds of mistakes.
No, right.
Yeah, or if they die on the ice and in the, you know, seasonal change melt through, fall
Right.
in.
Right?
Yeah, I know some sharks have been found with cow remains in their stomachs, and it's been traced back to cattle on a farm, basically cattle falling off a cliff near a beach and then getting into the ocean.
Not that different than like a kelp fall, right? When there's an
Yeah,
opportunity
right.
to get a meal, you're going to take advantage of it.
yeah, I watched a documentary on the Greenland sharks not that long ago, and it was just
They're so cool.
fascinating.
You know, I think my favorite sharks really are some of these sharks that get less attention. I love thresher sharks. Like, come on, ninja whippy tails. Like, so cool. You know, being a smaller shark, you got to play to your strengths. You realize, like, you can specialize in eating smaller fish, but smaller fish have the advantage of being able to school and have all the incredible dynamics that a group of fish can work together in their lateral line, sense one another, and stay together. So what if you evolve a feeding technique to slap at big schools of fish and stun them with pressure waves to get them out of there? So cool.
Well, we were just talking about, no, it's not sharks, but when you're flying into Tampa and you fly over some of the shallower water, you can see these circles in the sediment from the plane.
Yeah.
And it's dolphins that do, it's a hunting mechanism that they'll use to kind of trap the fish. They'll kick up sediment in like a half circle or like 3/4 of a circle, and then either a second dolphin will dart in, and you know the fish is trapped by the smoke screen, or some of the dolphins will, I guess if you reach the master level, you can do it all yourself.
Do it yourself.
Was
Katrina.
that in Our Planet or Planet Earth 2?
One
I
of
feel like I just saw.
Yeah. Somebody's got it filmed.
Can you see? You can see it when you fly in sometimes?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
It's like bubble net
But dolphin style.
feeling.
Right.
Yeah. But smaller and more nimble.
Yeah, and it's often in really shallow water. You know, just a couple of feet, which seems really shallow for a dolphin, but
You do what you want.
yeah.
So cool. The ocean is amazing. It really is a privilege to be able to bring you all down here and
Bad
get to show
signal.
you some of those other parts of it.
So when we hit this upcoming slope, are you spinning around, or how are we going to do this?
That's probably the plan.
Okay.
Yeah, see as much of it as we can see as we get pulled away. should be clear of any obstacles behind, but we'll keep an eye on it.
Yeah, is this up or downhill?
It's downhill.
It's down.
Okay.
Yeah, I have on the slope map if you want to see the bathy. I could pull that up
Yeah.
real quick.
So,
can see that.
Science Row, can we talk a little bit about, you know, what kind of processes have formed these big sediment basins, or how deep do we think the sediment is? Like, sort of, what is this landscape we're seeing?
Well, I mean, earlier, and this is just a minimum, we saw one cliff face that was 50 meters tall, so that's more than 150 feet of sediment piled up on one another. So most certainly it's much deeper than that.
Can we get a zoom on that?
Yeah. Video, let's push in.
Well,
Yeah.
it's an interesting looking fish.
It
I'm gonna
is.
go with
We've
the
got it in our
fish.
guide. I go with vertebrate. But I guess
Yeah.
we know more than that
Okay.
from the invertebrate zoologist.
It looks so pouty.
Yeah.
It does look pouty. Do you think it's an eel pout?
I mean, that's my first guess, but we
Yeah,
need
that's
Erica.
my best guess too, but I don't know.
Help us, Science
Oh,
Row.
and there's a sea pig.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Some
Got
sort of
something
eel
big
pout
in
is
front
my
of you.
guess.
Herc.
Yep, let's go check that out.
And another
Pull
sea
wide.
pig. And another sea pig.
Gonna wrangle them up.
Squadron of sea pigs.
Wow. Octopus.
Oh.
It's
Whale
so
fall.
big.
Here we go.
Oh, whale fall.
Oh,
Here we go, baby.
Dad.
Okay,
It is phenomenal.
we can't stop, can we?
We
We
are-
can stop and come back if you want.
Yeah.
I think
Oh,
uh,
God.
Let's take our time with it, and then
I
we,
think
we
it's
have to
worth
come
it.
back anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Video.
That
Oh
is
my
amazing.
god.
Okay.
There's
Okay,
so
I can't hear
many.
Greg.
yeah, this is
No
worth a stop.
way.
This
That's
is like a baleen whale, and you can still see the baleen.
Yes.
The baleen is still
Yep.
there.
That's
Oh,
right.
this is
3, 4,
great.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Someone
I count
who has
15
Twitter, tell Twitter if you
octopus.
don't have one.
Somebody tell Twitter. Twitter is with us right
Oh
now.
my
They
goodness.
Look at them.
Wow. This is
So
incredible.
yeah,
Talk
this
about
is
Chowder.
When you zoom on the
The
bones,
dinner
they look
bell
like they have
ringing,
the
right?
studs they
Yeah.
might
We are
already
so
have.
excited up here, just
Greg,
saying.
can I zoom?
Yes. Come
Yeah,
in,
let's
get
go ahead
it.
and zoom in.
Yeah, dinner is
Do we
served.
have any
And if,
bone-eating worms?
Bridge, if we could track a line back.
So
There's still
I don't
soft
see any
tissue on
red
it.
tentacles or
West.
anything
I
yet.
don't. I see some brown fuzz on the vertebrae.
Yeah.
I mean, on the ribs. So those might be
No
the
Yeah,
way.
approximately
Oh, this is
full
so
zoom.
cool.
I think that is
450
them.
meters, 450
amazing.
meters.
I mean,
Yeah.
Look at the
You're-
Argus
you're
view.
right. You're right.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
check
look
out
at the
Argus
Argus
view.
view.
Can
it's
I
so
zoom in, Argus?
perfect.
So what do we
Zoom
estimate
on
the
Argus.
length of that?
How long is Hercules?
2.5 meters.
Well,
2.5 meters.
in length from forward to back, yeah.
So this looks like maybe a 4 to 5 meter whale.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, there's still soft tissue.
crazy.
Yeah.
There's a,
there is.
Definitely was something big
All
in
right.
the meso.
Well, people watching, we'll definitely come back here if we're swinging a little too far and spend some time here. This is definitely worth it.
Yeah, mark the target.
I wonder if this
and,
is some of
we'll
those
go past
octopus's
it and
last
come
meal
back.
before they make their way over.
Ah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Hi.
Well, we should
Hi,
get
octopus.
the sexes up.
We'll come back.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Okay,
Goodbye.
so
There's
what's
still fat
happening?
at the
Hercules?
tail.
There's
Waving.
fat at the tail.
Goodbye, octopus.
Yeah.
Okay,
This
this
is-
is awesome.
is-
Just partially digested still.
This will actually be
In the
pretty
thick
good
of it.
because on
So
the way
come up.
we'll go down the slope, and then on the way back we'll be able to go hit the slope back
Look
up.
at the
and-
sediment to the left of the whale.
yeah, there's
It's got-
something on it growing.
Yeah.
Can we
There
zoom
might
out on
be
Argus
some
if
of
we get a
those
chance?
worms.
Yeah, bacteria mats, worms, something.
Yeah, I'm thinking bacterial mat of some kind.
Okay, we're zoomed out on Argus.
I mean, there are
keep-
yeah,
multiple
look at that.
layers of
Got
food
it.
chain here, right? Somebody's
Video
going to eat the
push in.
first level, and then
So,
there's gonna be lots
yeah,
more.
yesterday.
Look at
Look at
Oh.
Oh,
that.
that's not
Worms.
bacterial mat.
No, they are
That's
worms.
worms.
Yeah.
Look at that.
So yesterday we were talking about seasonality in the deep sea and how episodic falls of food are a bonanza, I think is the word I use.
Bonanza,
So if you
yep.
come around
And here's a
positive
bonanza.
This is a,
and
yeah.
basically spin around, and then you can get me
Oh,
back
this
in
is
view.
great.
Just think the amount of calories in a whale here. I mean, the equivalent of so much marine snow. It's hard to even compare.
Oh, look
you know?
at the blubber on the right side.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah,
even
that's
digested all the
right.
way.
I
This is
know.
Oh, yeah,
so cool
this
to
is
see it
still
partway
pretty
through.
fresh.
Okay, so what's happening is the ship is tracking a line and moving along as we're moving towards the cone. So the ship is moving Argus away. Hercules only has a certain amount of tether away from Argus. So as the ship is moving, we can't
And
just
those are
immediately
worms
stop.
in there.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to probably pull away from this a little, but we're in the process of stopping and turning the ship back around and coming right here.
Yeah, we're about 450 meters, so the ship is now coming back. So we're going to get pulled towards the ship and then back. We'll do a little yo-yo.
I'm surprised there's
and
no
then we'll come back
sharks.
here to the whale
There's
fall.
not a lot of tissue left. It looks
Not
like
at this
mostly
minute.
blubber.
No,
And
that's true.
Yeah, there may have been
So-
sharks earlier, huh?
so whale falls are a really cool way to think about the ecological idea of succession. So after the whale, look at the bone.
So what
worms.
is the fuzz on those bones?
Yeah, the fuzz on those bones are, let's see, the
Hydroids?
common name I remember hearing was the bone-eating snot flowerworm,
Uh-huh.
but the genus is Ocedax.
Ocedax, yep.
So these are worms that have symbiotic associations with bacteria. So they have no more gut themselves. Instead, they have these rootlets that burrow into the bone, and then the bacteria are able to metabolize the fats and oils that are in the bone itself.
Wow.
Yeah, my colleague at Imbari, you know Shannon Johnson,
Shannon
right?
Johnson.
She's worked a lot with these bone-eating worms. She's been a part of naming several of them. One of them was after Pink Floyd, actually. I forget the name off the top of my head. I'll find it. But yeah, she would be going, I mean, we're all going nuts, but she would be going even more nuts. Right
Get
now.
on the live feed. Tune
know.
in. Well, they're
All
at
right,
sea
we're
right
about
now.
to get pulled off.
Okay.
Full wide.
So
We'll be coming back.
And the ship
was
move
it,
has already
has it
started coming
been
back.
generally
Yeah,
known
octopus
that
fighting.
octopus are
Oh, yeah,
scavengers?
getting pulled.
There's the tug.
Yes.
No, that's a great question. I mean, I'm sure they're mostly predators, but why not be opportunistic?
Yeah. I mean, back
Definitely.
up.
Where food is so limited, I would imagine scavenging is a great strategy. Your food doesn't run away or
Right.
need to
Exactly.
be subdued.
You just follow the smell.
All right, team. That's
Wow.
pretty legit.
Is that Argus?
I can breathe again.
Argus backwards.
Yeah, let's come
we're
up.
gonna need you to come up.
Come up.
Tweet
Yep.
about this.
Yep.
Tell your friends. Tell them to tune in. We
Oh,
are
yeah.
going to
30,
settle
yeah,
back in at this
yeah.
site and
to
take
30.
a look.
Yeah, at least.
We
Wow.
just stumbled upon a 5-meter whale fall.
Should I spin around and get a view, or?
This is
Unreal.
If
the
you
Real.
can, but make sure you pick your direction properly. Go negative.
No, you can still see the baleen
Negative,
of this
yeah,
whale.
to
So
like
that's the
060.
filter feeding plates
Yep.
that are in whales that eat plankton,
And keep coming up as you go.
primarily sort
Yeah.
of krill.
Got it.
Yep.
So that
Keep
gives a
coming up.
few.
You see what we're looking at, Paul?
Yeah.
Because you're facing west now.
It gives
That
a
gives some different
few
options,
immediate,
doesn't it?
options. A couple candidates. I'm thinking
All right, I'm at
humpback,
30.
maybe gray whales. What other times whales
you're
use the
clear of it,
sanctuary
but
waters here?
Keep
Well,
an eye on
hang
your
on,
sub-bottom.
he's
Yeah.
turning
Well,
around.
Oh, I see.
Blue,
whales,
humpback,
but, yeah.
gray, although
Realize
they're coastal. They probably wouldn't be
Yep.
out there.
Right.
Fin whales,
Okay.
Almost turned around.
northern right whale, although
Okay.
that's a dolphin. But so, yeah,
Gives us a few options.
we definitely have some options. So what we're doing here is we're going to bring up some whale skeleton diagrams back here, and we'll see if we can make an educated guess once we
awesome.
come back.
Yep.
Not a vertebrate person. Try and
Happy,
Yeah.
happy birthday,
None of
by
us
the way.
are
Yeah,
whale
it's so
people,
cool.
but
So I've
Not
gotta
to make
come
this
up
about me too much for just a moment, though. Holy
Right,
cow, I'm
'cause I
seeing a
can see
whale
it
fall
right
on
there.
my birthday. Oh my gosh. I've
We
only heard
have a
that.
habit of doing
I
this
know,
at the end of the
I know.
Nautilus season. Just a little and come back next week
Just a little
for
bonus.
more.
Teasers. Yeah.
yeah. So Mbari has
Paul, keep an eye
identified
on
several
your
whale
sub-bottom.
falls throughout the bay, but they are rare to
We're
come
gonna keep an eye on
across.
that. So
They're
as
probably
you
not
pass
rare
over,
across
we'll
the
see how
entire
deep it
deep
actually
sea,
is.
but
Hopefully.
because most whales will die and descend, and there's quite a few of them. But the chances of coming across one, especially
There
out
you go, it's
here,
Cam
are
7.
still very, very, very
Yep.
small, considering
well,
the width of
Starting
our
to come up.
path.
And with so little
I'm coming up.
explored, we know they're
let's
out
hold
here.
30, actually. So
Yeah.
as I come up.
We're 10 meters to the right or left,
Yeah.
and we missed this. So,
We
But
saw
what
it in
was-
the sonar
What was
actually first.
interesting?
oh, did you see the sonar?
Okay.
Yeah, that's why I was like, we were zoomed in on something. And I was like, we got something big coming up.
Awesome.
So awesome.
Wow.
Now, Nautilus has encountered a couple
Try
different
and
whale
make
falls
it
before.
all
One of
the
those is the
way.
Rosebud whale fall, which was one that was intentionally sunk by researchers to study the succession
Okay.
of
There it is.
Spun around.
predators and scavengers.
Spinning around backwards when you're moving this quickly is a little difficult.
This was
but
this is what we were being dragged into, so we're
Yeah, and to look at that nutrient flow in an area. We have also come upon some a few years ago farther
right, so that's
into
why we're
Southern
lucky we have
California,
sonar and such.
but
yeah.
this is a really
I'm still coming up though.
spectacular
Full
chance to check it out.
go.
What's your altimeter right now? Just curious.
17.
17.
But that's an approximate, and so 2 of the beams are headed towards the wall.
Ah.
You know, just casual whale fall here. We'll get back there.
If
Check
you'll
that
note,
out.
there's no Argus prints in this.
Well done. Well done, Rennie.
As
It's an octopus who just passed.
Yep.
He heard the dinner bell call. He's on the way over to the whale fall.
Well, that was one of the things that I first
This
noticed
would
was
be a
all
steep-
the animals
steep-
out on the
Yeah, I'm still
floor.
trying to
Moving
fight
in.
the pull of the ship. I'm going to lose my heading again.
All right, so the ship
Coming
is
up.
sort of repositioning, and you can think
We might
about
be
these
at-
like
I
a
think we're at
pendulum
tether.
underneath
Yeah, I
the
know,
back of the ship.
I'm-
So we're moving back
I
over
made
there
it
to get back
around
to
and
that
then
whale
lost
fall.
it because I had to pause to come straight up.
This will certainly be a highlight clip as we go, but we have a lot more exploration of the site. We're going to go back and spend some more time there on the seafloor, settle the vehicles in so that we can stay put there and take a really good look, get some great images of the Oceanographic worms, those tube worms along the side, which is a super cool succession. You could imagine these bigger predators taking, I guess, the first rounds of digestion, or some of those oils, natural oils coming off it, digesting down
so
into the
we're
ground and being
in a
consumed
safe
by
spot.
bacteria and tube worms as they go into the sediments.
Ship is still coming
Man,
back.
just so
yeah, it's-
fantastic.
You're going to still go the other
Swing,
way
yeah.
before.
So we can see each other on the sonar, right? That's
Yeah. That's
Question, are you going to wake up your sleeping colleagues? I think they are awake. I
Yeah.
imagine the lounge right now is a little electric. It's exciting. You know,
Alright,
right
we're
now
just
it's a
gonna go
busy
back to
time
back
on the ship.
again.
There
I'll
are
back
ship-to-shore
up
interactions
pretty fast
happening. Just a lot going on. We started to hear up on our comms panels what are in our headsets
in butt
as we're all
cam.
here talking to each
Yeah.
other. You can call around the ship, and got a couple calls from folks. So, I mean, we watch a lot of Nautilus Live, and I imagine there are some emails heading off
Now
the
let
ship right
you
now to
come
some other
back
colleagues, getting
to-
them to tune
So
in,
let's go to 090 for
contribute some
090?
observations.
you. Yeah. Okay, down and back.
Yeah.
And we can go ahead and go back to the gauge on bubble.
okay. Yeah.
That was kind of an unexpected feature in the down.
Well, it kind of goes up and then down. So there, but this turns out this little bit of up is a bit more
Is a lot of bit
prominent
up.
than something. We saw the extent of it, and it's kind of like it was a small feature. It just was very vertical. So you can't really resolve something like that.
So can we just talk a little bit, I mean, we ballparked that at about 5 meters. We're obviously going to go take a closer look and try and make an educated guess about what kind of whale this is. Viewers don't know, is 5 meters a full-size whale? Do we think we're looking at a teenage whale? How big are whales? Talk to me a little bit, science team, about whales in the sanctuary.
Well, unfortunately, I think it was dead.
It doesn't look very like it's doing very well. Seems skinny.
I feel like
You can
that's,
see the
that's
ribs.
up for debate.
Are any Kraken
Yeah.
jokes again?
I've been looking up guides of whale skulls,
Are
so
we gonna
I'm
kinda
not there
wait for it
yet
to feel the
on
ship
who we
move?
might think it is.
Okay.
But probably based on the skull
well, I'm going
shape
to try
and then the
turn
size
around again and
of
we'll
the whale.
try and get lined back
First, with the shape, we can determine what species it was, and then by the size, we can then infer whether we think it's a juvenile or an adult.
Okay.
So yeah, we got to get back there.
Super cool to see those eel pouts and octopus on there, the grenadiers hanging around.
Everybody's hungry.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I was saying succession.
Yeah, tell us more.
Yeah, so succession is the idea of a community changing over time, and
Alright, I
it
can see my light
changes
pool
as
right
it
just
affects the
outside of the
environment
6.
around it. So we often think of succession on land, like what
Yeah.
happens when you have a grassland
Right,
that
there are all
slowly
these
becomes
tiny
a
little things
scrubland
to look for.
that might get some
Now
small
I-
trees
yeah,
and eventually
now I
some
can
larger
see
trees
it.
and eventually a forest. So that the sort of change or progression through those different habitats is called succession. And later successional stage
Don't
would be
wanna
the
come up a
forest,
little bit
and
if you're
earlier
driving.
stages would be the grassland.
No, because I'm
So for a
trailing the
whale
tether
fall,
pretty solidly behind
well,
me.
when
and
a
I'm
whale
gonna come
dies,
down
it sinks to
some.
the seafloor with
Okay.
all or most of
I'm
its
gonna
tissue
take
still
numbers really quick
attached.
while
Yep.
And so the first animals
that
to
was
move
fun.
in are scavengers that smell the meat and want to eat the tissue and the protein from the whale. And so you'll get things like hagfish or isopods and amphipods and the types of animals that can eat tissue. And then as the whale tissue, well, so they're also the fastest, so they're first on the scene. And then slower moving scavengers arrive, like these octopuses. They seem kind of slow.
How did the
and
worms get
also,
there?
She's talking.
crabs will migrate in, lots of crabs. But once they eat away the tissue, you still have a lot of bones, and that's not the end of the whale fall as a community. So then you end up with the types of animals that we see here, like the eel pouts and the octopuses, eating away at the bits of fat that's left behind, and the sort of greasy residues. And bacterial mats can start to form on the sort of fatty residue that's left over on the bones. And then, when the bones are exposed, then you get the bone-eating worms, which colonize. They have larvae like drifting around the water column, apparently fairly regularly. And
Just
so,
waiting for bone?
Yeah,
Isn't it
I mean,
fascinating, like how they land
Whoa.
here? You know,
Yeah,
these
so-
worms are not like picking up and hopping
They
from
can't
one to the
migrate.
next.
They
They
just
can't move.
float in the water column.
Exactly.
Wow.
So there are larvae swimming around in the water column that if they happen to settle, or if they happen to drift past a whale fall, then they can settle and survive, basically. So that's pretty neat. And so yeah, they will settle as a larva and then grow up into a worm. And they put those rootlets down and burrow into the skeleton of the whale. And then the bacteria that live inside of their specialized rootlet structures are able to
Alright,
digest the
let's
bone and the
hold here and we'll see
carbohydrates
which way
and
Argus
the
is
lipids
moving
from the
now.
bone. And finally, the worm survives on digesting those bacteria that are in the rootlets. So it's just this really cool and
Ship just passed
ever-changing
overhead.
community at the
Yeah.
different stages that the whale
Is that
body
the-
is in different stages
Yeah.
of decomposition.
It should be pretty easy to spot.
Well, we picked it up in sonar pretty easy, so.
Yeah.
So fantastic.
Yeah, I took a course on forest stand dynamics, and it was kind of, if you don't think about it, it just doesn't go from clear cut to old growth forest. There's a lot of stages to get there.
Mm-hmm.
So I really like the idea of that compared to a whale fall. So thanks, Amanda.
Yeah, it's
DC
great.
ground
It's
fault
the same
dropped to
same process. It's really
from
neat.
On
5
Argus?
point- yeah, 5.6 to 3.4.
Alright, I'll be okay.
On the quad cam, do we have the sonar showing? It'd be really neat if we're able to see the whale fall as we approach it again in the sonar view.
We can get that set
Yep,
up.
we
Yep,
can
give me a
have it.
sec.
And can we zoom on camera 5?
Yeah, still
No,
up in the
there's
water
no
column.
zoom.
But,
I mean,
Oh, just make it
bring
big.
up-
s-
yeah.
the clue
I
was
can
we
put it up
spotted
there,
something
I
coming.
think. Well, let me think.
And,
Argus, it's probably this one.
Using that forward-facing sonar, we have seen a
Boom.
lot of slope on the sediment plane.
So
There
it's
aren't a lot of
2?
features
Yeah.
sticking up, not a
Okay.
lot of big hard rocks.
And
So,
4.
yeah.
Cool.
you know, as explorers, we look for things that are different, you know, different from the pattern.
Looks like it's pretty
Um,
stationary.
And that's what
Which?
started
Argus?
to...
Yeah, I would say
Clue us
Argus
off.
is starting to move in the other direction.
Yeah. We can reacquire bottom. It's going to be going upslope,
Okay.
probably. Well, because of this little pause here, it actually might sine wave up to speed.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So it
Yeah.
probably won't be super fast. So you'll be able to go upslope.
Yeah.
But you know, we can do it the scary way too.
Alright, well, I'm gonna fly in a 180 and you follow me around.
Okay.
All
Let's
right.
go find a whale fall.
Let's
again.
go back.
All right.
All right, so if you're watching on, we have many channels to watch on Nautilus Live. If you are watching on YouTube, come on back to Nautilus Live if you'd like. You can send in questions to our team here in the control room from there. But on channel 1, you are watching the Hercules main view. Camera right out of the center of the Zeus Plus of Hercules is going to be your on-the-ground direct forward view with the zooms. That's where we're going to get our detailed shots. Channel 2, you have the eye in the sky, kind of that helicopter view. We already had a spectacular look at this whale fall up from that perspective, and that will give you that bigger, broader perspective. If you're watching on the quad, in the lower left of that view is our sonar. So the ring on the left is the scanning sonar on Argus, and the ring on the right is Hercules. So we're up in the water column right now, not getting a lot of hard returns back, but as we get down to the seafloor, it'll start to bounce off, and that's how we originally acquired this whale fall. Knew something different was coming along the way. So we're going to take a look here. Certainly the Sanctuary team are chatting with their colleagues and getting their heads together back here. Chad just came back into the control room, so we will make a lot of observations. We'll let you listen into our team as we try and work through this process to understand a little more about what kind of whale we might be looking at, and just observing what stage of that
you should be roughly at the base
succession of decay we were talking about with Amanda just a minute ago.
60 meters off bottom right now.
Super cool. We are in the Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary, and we've just come across a whale fall. It's like Christmas for deep sea explorers right now.
Yeah, so I blasted out
our
emails.
Birthday.
What did we zoom in on just before the whale fall?
Oh, what? Yeah,
I don't know if it was another octopus.
I think it was an octopus.
Go
And then
ahead,
we saw
Bridget.
another octopus, and then we saw an eel pout, and then we saw whale bones.
Yeah, it was the eel pout. So yeah, I just put out a blast to a bunch of staff and colleagues.
We'll
so
stop.
We'll see what happens.
Roughly right over the target, and then we'll hone in once we're there. So.
Are you expecting them on Science Chat?
Thank you.
Or
Well, some of them, yes. I don't think some of them are, so you might be getting some.
Into the question
You're
feed?
going to come down and see.
All right, I'll let you know what I get.
So I'm going to come down a little bit, Paul, so follow me down. Let's keep about 30 because we don't know the steepness of this wall.
Yeah. We'll just keep looking at it in Argus's sonar. You're all facing west now.
Is there a lot known about the decay speed? Do you think we'll be able to say how long this has been on the seafloor?
That's a great question. I don't know enough about them. I've just been a casual.
Oh, hey, there's a swimming polychaete.
Oh, look at that. Very slow one. You can
Beautiful.
really see.
Wow.
There's the bunches of filaments rather than the
individual kind of
slow motion here.
Segmented worm?
I know that some of the bones that Mbari has studied have been there for more than a decade. It's a very slow succession process from full animal down to the bones, but even the bones will last a very, very long time. But I think everyone agrees that this one still has flesh on it, so maybe this fall is only a couple years old. It's hard to say. Maybe less, maybe a little bit more.
So cool.
There we go.
All right,
Not going through the vehicle.
This is where like the 5-star highlight alerts go out. So our team is starting to cut a highlight right now, even though we're headed back to even see more. So on the East Coast, we have our video editors on alert. Like this telepresence is just an incredible system that lets us really utilize our team to the best advantage. So there are researchers right now going out to get information and tune in. We have viewers around the world here with us, making this discovery in real time with us.
I'm pretty confident there's crosstalk there.
You know,
all right, so that's the first bit.
Communication team getting ready to turn this around.
In either sonar.
All right, so we'll try here when we get to the seafloor to keep that right away going. So
towards the top of that, right?
Yeah. Our operation team needs anything about maneuvering and flying the vehicles. That is the first priority, and then all of these science questions and viewers, we will get your questions in as we can.
Paul's not coming down.
But certainly going to be a lot of science and operation dialogue happening right now.
Okay.
Was Argus's, did you say that those gauges have changed? Is that what I was hearing in the tone?
Well, on Argus, I think the gauges are A-okay.
Yeah. The
comp volume on Argus is massive, so that's fine. The springs need to be replaced, so I should write that down for Josh. So there is some crosstalk between the comped volumes. It's through some of the Tygon tubes that have wires running through them.
Is that just
between-
shadow from Argus in camera 8? You see how it's moving, or do we have a loose light? Wait for it. There. Is that just Argus shadow?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I've seen that before, and it's.
And it's, yeah, been a loose light. No, I don't have any of my port starboard lights on, so you're going to get, the only light there actually is from Argus.
So here's some quick history on whale falls. The first
Anyway,
earliest indication of the whale carcasses could host specialized animal communities occurred in 1854 when a new mussel species was extracted from a piece of floating whale blubber. The first one observed in the deep sea was by the Bathyskafe Trieste, which is a very famous submarine, in February of 1977. It was a skeleton of a carcass completely devoid of organic tissue. And then the Alvin visited one in 1987. It's assumed that some whale falls can last as long as 100 years.
Wow.
The last 50 years of the stage being the, I believe, the sulfonic stage. It's where the sulfophilic, the sulfur-loving bacteria, anaerobically break down the lipids embedded in the bones. And instead of oxygen, they reduce dissolved sulfate and excrete hydrogen sulfide. And so due to the toxicity of the hydrogen sulfide, only resistant chemosynthetic bacteria survive, which of course Amanda referred to, the chemosynthetic symbiotic bacteria living there. And the bacterial mats provide nourishment for mussels and clams, limpets and snails. As whale bones are rich in lipids representing 4 to 6% of its body weight, the final digestion stage can last between 50 and possibly 100 years.
Wow. Science, I'm staying
so-
kind of off bottom because we have this feature again that we have to go up and over on our way back to the whale fall.
And I have the ship stopped roughly over the whale fall. So when Argus starts to settle in, we'll be able to hone in at a good angle so we can get some good shots and settle in and have
Thanks, Rennie.
Herc get there.
With something like that, will we pendulum out, or is it so
There
slow
will be
there's-
some pendulum.
There'll be a little bit,
Yeah.
because we rocketed at it going like 0.8 knots.
there's
Rocketed it.
Yeah, there's the
So Mbari,
feature.
of course, has led the way on
The whole
these
2
bone-eating
kilometers
worms,
an hour.
Oceanax.
Right.
They were actually first
We're 2
discovered
kilometers ahead.
in the Monterey Canyon in 2002.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a relatively new.
17 years ago, so this is certainly relatively new.
Let's see, octopus down in the bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
So Oceanax larvae have no digestive tract. They float through the
There's that
oceans until they encounter
feature.
a carcass. So think
Yep.
about that life.
You can see in Argus.
What are the chances of finding a carcass?
Let's go for a ride today.
And then
Welcome
the
to
worms
fun.
then grow appendages resembling tiny trees that absorb oxygen, and those structures grow into the bone. And those contain symbiotic bacteria, which make an acid that breaks down the proteins within the bone. And then that process supplies nutrients for the worms.
So since 2002, all that has been figured out about these guys. That's pretty amazing.
Well, whale falls create really great long-term sites, right? You can go
Yep.
and see that ecological succession that Amanda was talking about by revisiting a known site. Although a lot of animals are attracted to an area, this is very different than, you know, I think about like an African savanna where
Citrus would, like, step
a
just
carcass would get
slightly.
scattered. It would get taken apart by different big predators. A lot of things are concentrated to the place right here, and you end up with, you know,
A whole
What are we, like,
community
yeah,
springing
just
50
a
up.
massive
meters?
community and
Yep.
a
What's that?
series of
50 meters
communities.
from whale fall.
So here's some numbers I've never seen
75.
before.
75.
We'll verify these numbers, but
So
it's been estimated
floated
that
in
about
there.
690,000 carcasses or skeletons of the 9 largest whale species are in one of the 3 stages of decomposition at any one time. This estimate implies an average spacing of about 12 kilometers and as little as 5 kilometers along migration routes. Now that's just migration routes, so you're not considering the whole ocean, just their
That's
corridors.
astounding.
So, but they do hypothesize that this distance is short enough to allow larvae from these bone-eating worms to migrate and land.
Wow.
So, but again, the chances of finding a whale fall are pretty darn slim.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what Argus,
That was kind of one of those.
Nautilus needs a whale carcass sniffer on.
Yeah.
yeah, you can see that spire passing by in Argus Meso there. about 20 meters off.
Yeah, looks great.
Bing.
Ding,
Yeah,
there it
That's
is.
the thing we drove right into.
We did not drive
We
into
did not
it.
drive
We
into
drove
it.
over
we
Oh,
it.
did
came
not drive
close.
They
into
can't
due to
hear
your
you? Or-
deft navigation.
Oh, he turned
It
it
was the
off.
whole pilot row.
Super
All right,
exciting.
microphone is close. I'm almost eating it.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's,
That's
we've
what you
talked
need.
about having everybody has their own microphone that they
Mhm.
take with them to watch, and they're flavored, but
That's a good way to put it. All right. Well, did everyone hear that last
Yep.
bit? Okay. Okay, good.
Mhm.
Just making sure.
all right, so we were 70 meters from whale
600,000.
fall.
Yeah.